Welcome to Creators Cafe. I'm your host, Jessica Payne. I'm a performer, performance coach, and multi-hyphenate creator. I'm going to be bringing you conversations with some of my favorite creators where we talk about the sublime and the specifics of the creative journey. So grab a drink, get cozy. Let's go. My guest, Megan Green, is an award-winning screenwriter based in Los Angeles. Megan's work has been recognized by the Austin Film Festival, Screencraft, Stowe Story Labs, Sundance Labs, and the Coverfly Act 2 mentorship program. Only Humans, the indie drama feature she co-wrote, premiered at the Napa Valley Film Festival. Her feature, The Family Harvest, was developed with Atlas Entertainment. Her feature biopic drama, ELEANOR JACK, has ranked in the top 1% of projects on Coverfly and was a Nicholl Fellowship semifinalist twice. Megan has both her MFA from UCLA and her MBA from UNC-Chapel Hill. She used her experience at the nexus of screenwriting, tech, and business to write her incredible drama pilot, DANNI'S HARD DRIVE. I recently got the honor of getting to act in it at a reading in Hollywood of this true story based on the only woman to appear on the cover of the Wall Street Journal and Juggs magazine. It won the drama division for CineStory's TV Retreat and Fellowship and was selected for the Women's List. Please enjoy my inspiring conversation with my friend, Megan Green. Welcome to Creators Cafe. My guest, Megan Green. Cheers, Megan!
Cheers!
Welcome to Creators Cafe.
Love your mug.
Thank you. This is from the Huntington Gardens, actually.
Ooh.
I can't believe how well it matches my background.
It is sort of perfect.
Yeah, it's like peacocks, which I like, and all the pretty trees and stuff. And then I've got my pillow back here. So it's I don't know. It's my little jungle corner.
You're camouflaged.
Yeah, exactly. You can't see me. What are you drinking today?
I am drinking green tea. Harney and Sons green tea. I drink loose leaf green tea.
Nice.
Because I'm better than everyone, obviously. Just kidding. I really try not to talk about how I usually only drink green tea. I only drink coffee on the weekends. It sort of makes me feel terrible, but I drink it anyways.
Yeah.
But I do feel a lot better when I'm just drinking my green tea.
And I know Megan from the gym, and we've spent a lot of time, hugging each other while we're both sweaty and working out and all of that good stuff. And just a fun little fact, right before we got started with our test recordings, I asked what she had for breakfast, and it was delightfully healthy. And Kyle, who's a personal trainer, walked by and made fun of her for being so healthy. So feel the love.
I do. So I feel the love so much.
I like that you also have the green tea. I have latte number, we don't want to talk about it, from coffee number, from Blue Bottle, actually.
Oh, so, I like a good Blue Bottle.
Yeah, it's not one of my regular haunts, but it was what made sense today, and it's really good. I like it.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. So, along with knowing Megan from the gym, I also love your work as a screenwriter, and you're so smart and fun, and your writing has real three-dimensional characters, but they're doing smart, funny, amazing things. And I got the recent honor of acting in one of your pieces that's gotten a lot of cool attention. So we'll get into all of that later. But you are one of the people that is just on my radar for, I'm going to be very proud to brag about you when everybody else finds out about you. And so here's where they get to start to find out about you. Oh,
thank you.
You have so much screenwriting experience. You've written feature films, you've written shows for TV, you've written so much. How did you get into this, and why did you pick screenwriting in particular as your focus?
We're going to go way, way back I think I was in 5th grade, and I pitched my 5th grade teacher, could I write a screenplay instead of writing a book report? And it was literally on like a dot matrix printer. I'm now really dating myself because my parents still had a dot matrix printer, but I did like write the beginning of my first short screenplay when I was in like 5th grade. I was obsessed with Indiana Jones and Star Wars, but especially Indiana Jones. So I would make my friends and my brother reenact Indiana Jones, and we would like literally Suncoast Video is also a very dated reference, but it was a mall where you could actually buy movies and not even DVDs, just VHSs. Mm-hmm. But you could buy bound screenplays. And so I got the original screenplays from all the Indiana Jones movies and the Star Wars movies. And so we would use those to reenact the movies, and I like retyped them in screenwriting format. I would look at the formatting and like retype them. And so I have never written anything other than screenplays. I started writing my first like feature-length screenplay my sophomore year of high school. And I actually attended, I don't even remember what it was called, but it was like a summer program at UCLA for people who wanted to work in entertainment. So I knew for a long, which is so obnoxious. Like everybody, when they're like, when you're supposed to be telling your story, they're like, don't say that you've always wanted to be a screenwriter. But like literally, I've always wanted to be a screenwriter.
That's actually really amazing, because I feel like screenwriting is something that people like love movies and then realize that they could be a writer themselves down the line. I just love like 5th grade Megan cornering the teacher and saying like, hey, I'm going to do this. Okay. And like what good teacher would say no to somebody who's enthusiastic and passionate about it? And also like, I didn't even realize there was a place when we were growing up that you could buy screenplays. I like that kind of boggles my mind. I'm just imagining like looking at screenplays and sitting down and retyping them. That's beautiful. That's so cool.
It's weird.
No, I love it. Yeah. Oh, I do see how people who are trying to figure their life out are like, how dare you? How dare you have known this long what you want to do. And so what was your path? Did you go directly for that? Were there kind of side quests along the way?
A little bit. Yeah. I like that term, side quest. So I desperately wanted to go to UCLA for undergrad, and I was heartbroken when I didn't get in. And I grew up in San Diego. And so I ended up going to UC San Diego mostly because they did have some screenwriting classes that I was really kind of excited about. And so I took as many screenwriting classes as I could. I think I took 5 screenwriting classes. And actually, when I went to graduate, I went to the counselor and showed them what I had taken. I like hadn't talked to anyone first. And they said, well, we really want people to take more diverse course paths instead of just taking all in one genre. And I was like, but it says in the course catalog that this is what I can do. So they let me graduate. But I did take, I think I took 5. And so I finished my first feature in undergrad. And one of my first instructors, I think he was my very first instructor, his name was Waco Lin. And he had recently graduated from the UCLA MFA program. And he is still a close friend of mine today. We are still in close contact. And so when I finished my script for his class, we had kind of like an end of semester meeting, and we sat down, and he was like, this is actually pretty competent for an undergraduate screenwriter. And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. It meant a lot. But I was like, I'm going to UCLA's MFA program right now. And he was like, whoa, hold on. I was like 21 at the time. And his advice was, in order to be a good writer, you need something to write about. You need life experiences and things like that. And so his advice was, don't go straight to the UCLA Screenwriting MFA program. Even if that's what you want to do, like go have some life experience, have some adventures, so that you have something to kind of draw on when it comes to the point that you're actually writing your own work. And I give that advice to people. He does, first of all, Waco does not remember telling me that. Second of all, funny. I tell everyone that advice and no one ever listens to me, but I think it was excellent advice. So I my sister was living in New York at the time, and I wanted to get as far away from I always wanted to like get some space away from family and just kind of like move and start my own life. And because I went to UCSD for undergrad, that was just kind of delayed. But I ended up finishing UCSD 2 quarters early. So I finished in just about 3 years, and just immediately, like, I missed my graduation from undergrad because I had already moved to New York by that point. So
Wow.
I moved to New York, and I lived with my brother-in-law went to Yale, and a bunch of his Yaley friends had a huge apartment in Harlem. And so I rented a 1-bedroom and a 5-bedroom, 1-bath apartment in Harlem,
Wow.
and lived there for a couple years. And I just had some good adventures. I worked at Starbucks for 4 hours. If you want to do a fun fact later, I can tell you about how I only worked at Starbucks for 4 hours.
I just want to know. I want to know now. Yes, please. That's
okay.
amazing.
Side quest. First of all, the only job I had when I got to New York is that I was working for Michael Moore for $12 a day. That was the intern rate, was $12 a day in Manhattan.
Okay.
So I needed a job. So
Yeah.
I got a job at Starbucks, and my job was like, the first half of the day went great. I was just like tasting frappuccinos and stuff. Like, it was so much fun. And then after a couple hours, they're like, okay, you stand here behind the cash register, and when someone asks for tea, you just all I had to do was grab the size of tea cup, like the paper cup for the tea, and hand it to someone else. That's like literally my only job. And someone also, this is on the Upper East Side, and they had warned me that people were really mean.
Yeah.
But so someone ordered a tea. They were not mean. They just asked for the tea, and I just like choked. I couldn't remember like the tall venti grande thing. I think I've like blocked it out because it was so traumatic to me. So someone ordered a tea, and I like choked, and I just left. I mean, I finished my shift that day.
Yeah.
Like, so overwhelmed at the prospect of like interacting with customers that I just failed, and I just never went back to Starbucks. They did send me a check, which I was just like, you don't have to pay me. I was not assuming that I would ever get my money again. I just like left because I was like, I can't handle it.
Wow.
I was very far in the process of interviewing for a full-time job at an advertising agency that I ended up getting. And so I knew that was maybe going to happen. And so I felt like I had something else that was going, but I was far too cavalier with just quitting a job before I had another job to take.
I have done it 2 big times, many little times, but two big times. So
Yes.
I appreciate the cavalierness.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So just worked for the advertising agency. I had a really fantastic boss and a really great team that I worked with. And I could support myself in New York, and I also could travel a lot. And so I would kind of like take a couple weeks off at a time while I was working there, and then just did a lot of travel, like did a lot of backpacking on my own, did a lot of trips to Western Europe and Japan, and definitely got in some of those like life experiences that Waco was recommending. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Where was your favorite place that you traveled to that was either you would go back to or recommend somebody would go, or just was a wild story?
I love Japan so much. It would be hard not to say Japan. And then I went back with my husband, Rob, a few years ago, and we just had such a wonderful time again. Yeah. Japan is just it's so easy to get around. People are so friendly, and there's just so much to see. But even as like a young woman traveling alone, like Japan was super, super easy and fun. And I stayed at hostels. And so I would always meet new friends and people that I kept up with for years. Just lots of fun adventures.
Oh, I love it. Nice. What did you do at the marketing agency?
So I had applied, speaking of like, I knew what I wanted to do. I had actually applied to be a writer's assistant for a soap opera because fun fact, they're called soap operas because they were owned by Procter & Gamble, the soap company. And so, yes,
I didn't know that. What?
Yes. So Procter & Gamble owns Guiding Light and one other one. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's been a while. So I'd applied for this. I mean, I had like a job at UCSD kind of like helping with their course and professor evaluations, but I never had a real job before. And then I got to kind of the final round of this writer's assistant position on, I think it was Guiding Light. And I didn't get it because they went with someone who had more soap opera experience, which I had never seen a soap opera before. So I was like, cool, I get it. But they liked me. So I didn't actually apply for this job. They just liked me. And then they ended up putting me in touch with the hiring manager who's still a good friend of mine, for was a programming assistant. So I worked on the People's Choice Awards, which was also owned by Procter & Gamble, sold to E relatively recently. But so the ad agency was producing it on behalf of Procter & Gamble because it had all of these kind of like, entertainment tie-ins. So that we would have like the Pantene Pro V Fans Favorite Hair Awards went to Jennifer Aniston. So I had some more like branded entertainment tie-ins, but my main job was working on the People's Choice Awards for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, something like that.
Yeah. Well, and that's cool that even though you were in an ad agency, you found your way to actually make it writing for entertainment from the very get-go.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't really doing writing in my job. I would like to have done more, but I was definitely like in the entertainment. I mean, I was on the red carpet. Like my first day at the ad agency was upfronts. Yeah. So
can you explain what upfronts are for somebody that's listening that doesn't know?
Totally. And I don't even know. I think they still do them, but they're not as big a deal as they were back in the day. So upfronts are when the studio networks premiere their upcoming season for the advertisers. And so it's kind of like, look at all these cool shows that are going to be here in the fall. Usually happens in May. At least it used to happen in May. So it give the advertisers time to decide what they wanted to, like how much ad space they wanted to buy and which networks. And so, but it's like this huge dog and pony show where they just like bring out all the superstars and there's red carpets. It was both awesome and really sad because the actors are all there and they're like posing in these, like, you can like go and take pictures with the actors and stuff. It's sad.
Yeah, it's kind of surreal.
It's super surreal. And so immediately, I mean, I was like seeing and meeting these actors that I had been, like love movie, love TV. Like I had been obsessing over these actors for years. And then they're just like, you can just stand in line and take your picture with Peter Krause was the one I was most excited about because he was on 6 Feet Under. Mm-hmm. It wasn't when 6 Feet Under was out, but he was in a different show that year. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't remember if I got my picture taken with him. It was cool, but also just a little bit like awkward because it's clear it's just a dog and pony show to get the advertisers excited.
Exactly. And also if the show is like, it's been a pilot, but is it going to get picked up is where
this was for pickups. Yeah. So at this point, when they do upfronts, it's when everything has been picked up.
Okay, great. Because if not, like a little earlier in the process, it's very weird whenever they bring actors out and they're not sure if their own shows are going to go.
Yeah. Yeah. But oftentimes, I mean, it's a super scramble. Like there are people who would have, like actors who would have flown into town, and it's all happened in New York. So actors would fly into town in New York and be there and be ready like to go to upfronts the next day and then would find out like that night that their show hadn't been picked up or something like that. So, crazy. But I mean, and they're at Radio City Music Hall and Carnegie, Carnegie Hall. Carnegie Hall. Yeah, that one. Mm-hmm. They're in like these huge, like super famous venues, and they're just kind of like whining and dining you, and it's an open bar, and everybody gets way too drunk, and it was just like my first day of my first real job, kind of like, oh my God, this is so crazy.
That's like the most Hollywood experience outside of Hollywood.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very strange. But yeah, so it was a great job for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
That I did. I really had I had a series of great bosses and lots of folks that I still keep in touch with and stuff. So it was an interesting side quest.
Yeah. Did you go straight from there to UCLA or were there more steps?
I did. So along the way, I also started taking screenwriting extension classes at NYU. and had another really great instructor named Michael Zam, who I just took, again, as many classes. And then my advertising agency would pay for my like screenwriting workshops. So, or at least part of them or something. So I really learned how to work the system on those things. And so the whole time I was writing, so I had finished 2 feature scripts before I applied to UCLA. Most people who apply to the UCLA MFA program, it takes 2 to 4 times to get in. And so I was really surprised that I did get in my first time. So I remember I was actually, I was at a hostel in Berlin and I checked my email and saw that I got into UCLA. And so that was a pretty cool experience.
That's a great moment in the life.
Yeah. Very surreal again.
Yeah. And for somebody that doesn't have the context of why UCLA screenwriting is so important, because it's a great school in the world, but I think that particular program at that particular school has just a different impact than someone who is not in the world of screenwriting might realize. Can you talk about why it's special?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many great filmmakers out there, and like NYU and USC obviously have really strong programs, but specifically, those are a little bit more geared towards production, and UCLA's program has just produced a number of incredible alums. And the one that is coming to my mind right now is David Koepp, and he was actually a personal mentor with me while I was at UCLA, which was so cool. But he wrote, for example, Jurassic Park, which was the movie that kind of made me want to really, like, after Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park made me want to make movies. So he wrote that. I believe that Panic Room is still the top selling spec screenplay of all time at $4 million. So to my knowledge, it's been a little while, I think that he is the highest paid screenwriter, just straight screenwriter of all time. And so I am open to directing at some point in the future, but I've always been very focused on writing only. And so the UCLA program is really, they've produced a lot of writers like that who didn't necessarily go on to have illustrious directing careers, but that wasn't necessarily what I was after. But just really, really strong. Eric Roth also went there, and he's, nominated for, I don't even know how many Oscars. So just kind of like every year, it's just like a list of UCLA alums are on the Oscar nominees list.
Yeah. And for somebody that's maybe not as aware, I think there's a big trend in the last 20 years of people being writer-directors, and a lot of times those people really want to direct and write to have something to direct. And so a lot of programs enable that path. And so I think having that really focused specialty is special.
Yeah. And I didn't want to crew on anybody's short film. I didn't want to learn how to hold the boom and do that stuff. God love all those folks who want to do that and get a real, and maybe I would certainly have a different perspective, maybe have a different career at this point if that was what I had pursued. But I just wanted to focus on writing, and the program that I did, we wrote a feature screenplay from idea to finished draft in 10 weeks. And we did that every quarter for between 2 to 3 years. So
how many did you walk out with?
Five-ish. And they didn't have a separate TV program at the time. So if you want to write TV, you had to write TV on top of that. So I also have a spec and a TV pilot. So and one of those 5 was very polished. So the sort of not great thing is that they don't really have a rewrite class, or at least they didn't. Again, the program has changed significantly since I was there. So the kind of downside is I learned how to write super fast. I can very easily write. I just finished a feature in 5 weeks with some time I spent a lot of time outlining that to get that done in 5 weeks. But I know I can write really fast. Like that's not an issue. What I've had to learn over time is rewriting, because that was definitely not a big part of the program. And so that's something that I spent a lot of time post-graduation figuring out. But one of those I did kind of like, I took like an independent study my last year and really focused on rewriting that script to get it in really good shape. The others are not in great shape.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Since you kind of had three main locations that had, between NYU and UCSD and UCLA, were there big philosophical differences, or like, we write in this style, or here's the books that you want to look to, or mentorships? Were there any that really stood out, or you really thought that you were a good fit for, resource-wise?
It's a really good question. Like, for me, it was less about the books and more about just the specific faculty. And kind of, I think the best experience for me was learning from so many different people. And so, at UCLA, we had like every quarter you have a new instructor, and some of those instructors are like full-time faculty who come back every semester. And then some of the times those are professional working writers who are just there for one semester, and they just kind of like download what their kind of process is. And so I think what worked well for me was hearing that there's no one way. So everybody has a different approach. And I could kind of pick and choose and take from each of those things, like what worked well for me. And even like the TV. So I was very, very focused in grad school on features. But I did take a couple TV writing classes, and just kind of the very thorough outlining process from those TV classes. I integrated that into my feature work, and now I'm a very extensive outliner at my feature work as well. And I think I learned that from the TV class, which wasn't necessarily something that I had even thought that I needed to know, but kind of just seeing how all of these different people approach their writing helped me kind of make my own weird process. And it changes every time. Like every time I start something new, and I'm like, oh, last time I did this. So I'll kind of start with that stuff in the process, and then that will or will not work. And then sometimes I have to change it up and try something new.
Yeah. If someone is new to screenwriting or wants to try TV writing, are there any books or resources that you would point them towards, or that you think are overused?
I mean, I know Save the Cat is like I think that Save the Cat is both overused and absolutely necessary when you're first starting out.
Okay. It's not the be all end all, but it is a really good place to start.
I think, yeah, I really think for feature writing, you kind of have to start there. Just to get the beats. Like, I'm a strong believer in you need to know the rules before you can break them. So I think that's a great place to start. Kind of the process, the method that I'm using most frequently now is called the sequence method. And there is a book. I can't remember the author's name. There is a book, and I can give it to you so you can put it in the show notes. But I think it's really helpful because, traditional screenwriting presents 3 acts. First act these are old numbers. First act is about 30 pages. Second act is about 60 pages long. Third act is about 30 pages again. And so you just have these like huge chunks, like 60 pages is a lot to break down, and there's a midpoint in the middle and blah, 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 blah. The sequence approach breaks it down into sequences of about 10 to 15 pages each. And so I think it helps to have something smaller and more attainable to kind of write towards for you as a writer. And I think it also makes sure that you're kind of always building towards something. You should be building towards the end of that sequence. And so that also gives you a momentum to your script that I think can kind of be lagging sometimes if you're just trying to like hit that 90 page, just trying to write, like come up with something to write for, 100-ish pages is a lot. And this helps you really kind of like break it down into more manageable chunks. So that's what I kind of use more than anything right now.
Oh, great. Great. I'll look into that and I'll put it in the show notes. I appreciate it. Nice. So fast forward to now, this month. So you not only have all of the scripts that you wrote at UCLA, you have all of the scripts that you've written over the years and all of the other projects that you've worked on over the years, casually getting an MBA in the process of another side quest. So highly accomplished, brilliant woman doing lots of amazing, cool things.
Oh, thank you. You are too nice. I need you to follow me around and tell me these things and argue with my inner critic inside.
Fair enough. I will be louder than your inner critic. I will just, and I don't say it if I don't mean it. So, I mean it. And so the thing that I got to recently work with you on was Danny's Hard Drive, which is a pilot script for a TV show where you've really combined your business acumen with an existing story that's so cool. And I got to be in it in a reading in Hollywood this month, and it was so great and so fantastic. And, like Dream World, I'd love to just be in it with you, and that would be amazing.
That is Dream World. You were fantastic.
Yeah, right. Like, let's just do that. That's fantastic. So can you talk about the history of kind of that script and then also all of the cool things that have happened with that script and where you are with it right now?
Sure. Yes. So I ended up getting an MBA, which wasn't really part of the plan, but my work offered me a free MBA and I figured why not? And I was working in sort of like a tech space at the time. And so for better or for worse, right now, Hollywood really wants scripts. They want to know why are you the only person to write this script? And so I was kind of looking for a project that I was genuinely excited about, but that would kind of combine all of those things. So I have a unique background having an MBA and tech experience. And so was kind of looking for, what's a project that I could work on that would highlight that life experience. And was talking to my partner, Rob, and he said, I think there was this like really famous, erotic dancer model who like started a really successful porn site back in the 90s. I was like, that's really interesting. So literally like, that's what I Googled was like famous porn star cyber site. I can't remember what the exact words were, but I basically just Googled it. And the story of this woman, Danny Ash, came up. And as I just read about her, she was just a really fascinating inspiring woman who had started as a stripper at a very young age and had kind of the short logline version is she's the only woman to be on the cover of both the Wall Street Journal and Juggs magazine. And so she had been a very successful nude model and got sick of dancing and had always just really had a keen mind for computers. And so she kept seeing, this was kind of the early version of the AI copyright infringement that we're seeing these days, where like men were just posting her pictures for free online, and she got pissed off about it and decided to build her own website and launched an incredibly successful, it became kind of like an empire. I mean, she ended up selling the whole company later for millions and millions of dollars. So she was incredibly successful. But I was just really inspired by a woman like this who had been, underestimated for so long and only appreciated for her body for so long. And she is obviously a genius and was just very inspired that she was willing to make such a huge change in her life and believe in herself enough to kind of like take control over her destiny. And so I did some research on it, read about her, read some books about her, read several articles about her, and the structure came fairly easily to me. It was one of the more easy scripts that I've ever written. I also love kind of like true life stories like Pam and Tommy and Dying for Sex. Like I absolutely love those things. So I had kind of like in my mind the structure that I imagined going into it. So it kind of, it came together fairly easily, but I think I had been thinking about it for a while. I keep telling people, oh, it was so easy to write. And then my partner, Rob, is like, well, but you had been talking about it for like 6 months. Like, I think it was kind of like percolating in the back of my brain for a long time before I actually put it down on paper.
Well, and there's also, it was so easy to write. All I had to do was write these other 20 scripts first and then think about it for 6 months. And then
but still, the script that I wrote another script after Danny, and it was so hard and I hate it.
Oh, fair.
So, some are easy and some are hard. It doesn't, it has less to do. I mean, you make different mistakes as you get more experience, but doesn't mean that I don't know if it ever gets easier.
Well, and something I loved with the script is I got to play someone that helps build the company with her, and just the relationship that you built between the two of them. You know, I'm acting with some actors I've never met before, and we just had an instant chemistry because it was just written so naturally and so fun. And I thought, you know, I could be dear friends with this woman instantly because they feel like real people who are, you know, just living in a messy world. And you just capture that so beautifully. Oh, and I think that's why the script is doing so well. So can you talk about some of the opportunities you've gotten from Danny's Hard Drive so far?
Yeah, it is. It is nice to be getting some recognition for it. So, it was the drama division winner for the CineStory TV contest this year, which is awesome because I had been submitting for that for a long time and had never kind of cracked the upper echelon. So it was really cool to kind of go in with a script that was very successful in that. It was also on the women's list, which is the list of the top unproduced scripts by women, which is fantastic. I think the website, we should put the website in the list too, but you can just Google the women's list.
Yep, absolutely. Show notes.
And it was that was featured in the Hollywood Reporter, which was really fantastic to be able to, a great way to promote that script. And I've read a couple of other scripts that are on the list and they're fantastic. So it's just a great resource of amazing female writers. So highly recommend that. And then I'm also semifinalist right now for the Athena Lab, which is another kind of women's focused screenwriting lab. So through Barnard College. So waiting to see on that one. But yeah, it's doing pretty well, which is a good feeling.
That's great. Can you explain what CineStory is to somebody that doesn't know about that?
Yeah, CineStory is the best.
Yeah, it sounds so cool.
So CineStory is a nonprofit organization, and it starts with a screenwriting competition. And so anyone can submit. There is a fee. They may have fee waivers. I'm not totally sure. But anyone can submit, and they have a feature lab and a TV ride. They're separate labs. And they go through a round of different rounds of judging. So there's the quarterfinals, and then there's the semifinals. And I think at the semifinal level for most of them is where kind of the cutoff to be invited to the CineStory retreat. So the retreat is a kind of a lab workshop situation that happens in Idlewild, California, which is, if y'all are not from around here, it's an hour and a half. It's in the mountains. It's absolutely beautiful, but it's in the mountains just outside of LA.
Isn't that the place where the dog is a mayor? Just
yes,
because everybody's
the dog is a mayor.
I love it.
I can't remember the mayor dog's name, but yes, the dog is a mayor. It's a very cute little town. I did not see much of the town because they keep you very, very busy.
Sure.
So the cool thing is that you get to meet a ton of other awesome writers. And then you also are paired up with 3 different mentors, and they have absolutely incredible mentors at this thing. So some managers, they had an agent this year, producers, showrunners, all kinds of really incredible mentors. And so everyone who gets into the retreat gets three mentors. So and each person I met with for an hour and a half. So I got 3 great mentors. Spent an hour and a half talking to each of them and got really, really in-depth notes that were very, very tailored to my script. And so then in addition to that, we did mock writers room. We did one for drama. We did one for TV. Then there's panels talking about, how to break in, different kind, like log line workshops, pitching workshops. So it's just, it's a great, I mean, I've been doing this for a while. I have an MFA, and I still feel like I learned so much just in the few days that I was there.
Yeah.
It's really fantastic. And then you also just meet such cool writers. I'm like, I'm in close contact with probably 15 writers that I met at this thing. You know, some of us we meet just in a group setting or something like that. But so you also start to just, it's just a really beautiful community that they've put together. Lisanne and Colette Sartor are the kind of women who run it and who kind of started the program. And they've got a lot of really amazing support staff who help to keep it alive. So I definitely recommend like apply for CineStory. It's so great. It's so worth it.
And I think there's a lot of, you know, especially if you're writing, a lot of times it's easy to get caught in like the void of just you and your computer, and you don't know what else to do. You don't know what the next steps are. You don't know where to send things. You don't know how to build community.
Yeah.
So, I mean, writers groups are amazing for that, but kind of how do you connect to the industry in a bigger way? So that's really incredible. Were there any, like any things that you learned or different perspectives from that specifically?
I am sure that there were.
That's okay.
No, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. I mean, I do think like probably the most valuable thing for me was the mock writers rooms. Just because there's kind of this, and so what I'll also say is I've done some other kind of similar labs where they're kind of like panels and you meet with writers and blah, blah, blah. But what's great about CineStory is that they divide it between TV and features. And so if you go to the TV retreat, you're just gonna be talking about TV. And if you go to the feature retreat, you're just gonna be talking features. And so they can really tailor it because they're so different. The needs are so different. Even writing a log line or a pitch, you know, a 3-minute pitch for a TV show is very different from a 3-minute pitch for a feature. And so what I loved about this retreat, the TV retreat especially, was to be able to, you know, have a showrunner. Like now I can't remember his name. He was totally awesome. But we all had to watch The Day of the Jackal before coming to the retreat. And then we had to kind of like, you know, come up with some ideas for what we think could happen in season 2. Wow. And so it was really fun. And I think also like helpful to we had to like kind of, you don't have to, but you know, the process is throw out some ideas, like learn how to start pitching your ideas, feel confident in your pitch, but also don't get too attached to that pitch where you're just like pitching the same thing over and over and over again, you know, like starting to kind of learn the etiquette between working inside, you know, about working in an actual writer's room.
Yeah.
So I found that incredibly helpful. And the Day of the Jackal is a little hard. The new season hasn't come out yet, so I'm not sure, but the comedy version, we did Schitt's Creek. And I will say that by the end, the episode that we came up with, I was like, this is legit. Like, this could be on Schitt's Creek. Like, this sounds like a Schitt's Creek episode. Seriously.
That's really cool. I love that, really cool. You know, finding the voice of a piece that's bigger, that you didn't originate, but you can kind of get into the stream of momentum of it. And people are kind of building off of each other, and someone throws out one idea and someone's like, oh yeah, and that goes well with this other thing that we were kind of talking about. Like, it was a really cool experience. And it was, I have been an intern in a writer's room before, and that was great, but it was a while ago. And so it was nice to kind of be like, okay, if you're going to walk into the room on the first day, like, at least I've had this experience relatively recently that I can draw on to kind of like quell some of those nerves and be like, okay, like I've done some version of this before. It's kind of demystifying in a way. Yeah. Well, speaking of, you have been so infuriatingly close to being a big gun in a real writer's room of a hit show. And like you have, we can't talk about the specifics, but you have been approved by the network. You have been invited by the showrunner. You have been waiting to be greenlit for, I would say years, if not months, for projects that were just in limbo. And, you know, we can't really talk about the specifics, but just the to know that you are playing ball at that level, that you deserve to be in that room, and it is out of your hands as much as all of this is, has to be both like wonderful to feel kind of justified of like, yes, I've put the time in, I deserve to be in the room, and also infuriating because you're not in the room, you're not getting paid, you've put life on hold, and you just get strung along. And I just wonder if you could talk about the process of what that's been like, as much as you can and feels good to you.
Yeah, I think it's so important. So Howard Suber was one of my instructors at UCLA, and he had taught for 40 years when I was there, and he was still teaching when I left. So he's taught a lot of very successful people, and people had asked him, how can you tell who's going to make it and who's not? And his response was, it's how people deal with despair. And I think that's been like so true. I know.
That hit me. I have been stabbed by his words.
Through the heart with the truth. Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, it's hard. And this isn't my first heartbreak. Like, I had another project when I first finished UCLA where I had 2 Oscar nominees attached to one of my features. And, it looked like it was going to go. Everything was going great. I should take it back. I mean, I think a big part of that was I was just young. I didn't know how to take notes. I was taking notes so literally, and I was just trying to be like perfect A+ student. If I do everything right, they'll say yes. And I think that was to my detriment. I didn't know it at the time. And so after that, I did stop writing for a while, and I was just really feeling very defeated. And that's when I got my MBA, actually. Like, my day job said, you want a free MBA? And I was like, well, good. Why not? Yeah, I'm not like working on anything else right now. I was kind of hoping maybe something would come along that I could find that would be as fulfilling as writing was. And so, I mean, I didn't even take math in college. Like, I had not taken a math class since high school. And so suddenly I was taking accounting and finance and some really, really hard classes. And so I couldn't write. It was about 2.5 years where I couldn't write. And it was during that time that I really realized that I couldn't not write, that, being away from it and just literally not having the time to be able to do it. At that point, I came up with a new idea for a script. And so that was kind of bubbling at the back of my head. And I was just kind of like, got to just get through this MBA so that I can get back to writing. And as painful as it was, I think it was it was the best thing that could have happened, just because I think that time away made me realize that as painful as it is to come close and not get it, it is more painful to me not to write. And so, since then I write because I really enjoy it. And I will also say that, the reception from my peers and from feedback from people who read my scripts is so much better now, kind of in like the post MBA writing. I think because I do write for myself. I would like to get paid. I would like money, please. But before, I was kind of like trying to write to the market and trying to kind of like what's going to sell. And I think people can sense that on the page. And so, for me, first and foremost now, like, I have to really be in love with a project to write it. And I think that comes through. So yeah, I don't know. It sucks. I was really hurt. I've had a few close calls, and I'm generally don't get my hopes up a lot, but this one got me. This one got me. But what I'm choosing to take away from it is, like, I am writing at a professional level. I would not have. It's unfortunate that the show didn't get picked up, but all indicators, there's no reason that I would get approved the way that I did, if I was not, writing at a level, like a professional level, to be stopped on a show. And so, like, just gonna just going to keep on going is kind of my plan right now. Like, I'm working on getting Danny's Hard Drive out there, getting it read, kind of pitching it around, open to looking for representation, but also just kind of doing what I can to get the word out about it. And, starting the next thing too.
Long ago, I was kind of main cast ensemble in a show that was greenlit by Universal and was going to be the one. And it wasn't, and it was heartbreaking. But also there is something about, okay, I'm in the mix. I'm there. Yeah. I'm at that point. This could happen, and it might not, but it really could. And it really, it's like it satisfies the internal kind of hoop that I needed to get through. Was really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you heard of the podcast Dead Eyes?
I have. Yeah, I haven't.
Oh my God.
Haven't. It's so funny. I haven't listened to it yet, but I have a couple of friends that are just. Yes, I know the secret. I know the spoiler. But I have heard such good things about it.
It's amazing. And it's about this. Like, I really do think we're set up to fail. Like, we will fail. We have to fail. Like, that's part of it. And like getting comfortable with that is really necessary. But this podcast, it's about, I should remember it like better, but it's like, actor named Connor, forgetting his last name. He was cast in a small role in Band of Brothers, and it was going to be directed by Tom Hanks. And then like he's booked the role, like it's a done deal. He shows up to like film, and he gets fired because Tom Hanks says he has dead eyes. And
which is like Tom Hanks is so kind to hear that. Whoa.
From Tom Hanks. Also, I interned for Tom Hanks, and I can attest to the fact that Tom Hanks is the nicest person in the world. I'll do a quick side quest on Tom Hanks. So I interned for him when I was in undergrad, and he had this like old timey like soda machine where you put in like a nickel and it gave you like a bottle of soda. And one of his sons, I think it was Chet, but I'm not sure. One of his sons came to the office one day and just like opened like a whole bunch of bottles and just left like the soda bottles all over the cafeteria. And I was the intern, so it would have been my job to go in and clean all that up. But before I could get up there, it was like an upstairs, kind of like a loft area. And I heard Tom Hanks come down and tell us, he's like, "Did you do this? Did you open all these sodas?" And the son was like, "Yeah, it was me." He was like, "You clean this up. This is your, you clean up after yourself. This is your job."
That's so great.
I know. So yeah, so I can attest to the fact that Tom Hanks is truly the nicest human.
I had a 10-minute conversation with him once, and he kept asking about me, and I was like, "I'm meeting you. This is really cool." And it was he's just so generous and kind. So yeah, I think it's more than
the
like
heartbreaking part. Yeah.
Hearing you have dead eyes from him is like, that especially hurts.
So that is definitely what the show is. Also, this podcast ended in like 2022. Okay, so like this is like maybe even 2021. It's way old, but I just listened to it about a month ago. A friend recommended it, and I'm like truly obsessed with it. It was so. I mean, on the one hand, it is depressing, and on the other hand, like to hear all these people, John Hamm and Seth Rogen and all these incredible, really famous actors, and they all have these like wounds that they carry with them too. Like they all shared their stories and they survived, like we all survive and live to fight another day. And so I loved it. I really recommend it. I found it very moving and very satisfying.
That's very cool. Before we move on, and I want to hear about your Creators Challenge in just a second, but the other script that I got to read was Past Tense that you wrote. And it's about love and loss and expectations and feels very tied in with all of this. It's beautiful and uncomfortable. I was like sitting in a cafe reading it, and I realized I was like making a lot of faces because I was so invested. I was like so invested in the characters. I realized I was just like sitting in the corner of this cafe, like just like living it with them. That
was the goal. So I'm glad it worked. Yeah. So it's it's about a woman kind of like in her like early 30s, and her husband dies unexpectedly, and kind of in a very bad attempt to kind of process her grief, she ends up having an affair with her father-in-law, so her dead husband's father, which I wrote for Mark Maron. If anyone out there, if you're friends with Mark Maron and want to like let him know, because I am 100% obsessed with Mark Maron.
It's a fantastic role, and it's like nuanced and fun and sexy and weird and uncomfortable. And Mark Maron, you would love this.
You podcasters all know each other, right? Like,
obviously.
Send it over to Mark. Perfect. Yeah.
Next meetup, I'll tell him.
But yeah, I mean, my dad died unexpectedly, and obviously it's a very different situation. But kind of like the thing that really struck me was just kind of the shock from kind of a grief like that's so fast and unexpected. I was just very surprised by kind of like how I reacted. And I was literally like in a state of shock for quite a while. And so kind of like, that's what, even though it's a very different relationship, obviously, like I was able to kind of like put myself in the main character's shoes, and kind of like envision what would happen. And this is actually a fairly common phenomenon. So, after Beau Biden died, Hunter Biden had an affair with Beau's wife, for example. Like there are a lot of examples. The dad thing is new. I'm pretty proud of that. But like there's a lot of examples, I think, and it makes sense for someone who is grieving to like try to hold on to that person. So obviously, in my script past tense, like the main character Jenny is like holding on to her deceased husband in this very unhealthy way, by pursuing a relationship with his father, because we're kind of like the only person who really kind of understands what she's going through.
Yeah. And he looks like him in the future that she's not going to see. And it's, he was a person of comfort in her life and is there, and she knows it's safe to kind of break down around him. And it is uncomfortable how believable it is and how quickly it feels believable and real. So it just really, I think you do a beautiful job of creating characters that I feel like I already know and putting them in situations that are tough, but, cool to kind of see what it reveals as they navigate those situations.
Thank you. That means a lot. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
No one wants to read that script. Literally, I can't get anyone to read it. Which I get, I get that it's like dark subject matter, death, borderline incest. But the people who actually read it really like it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. You just need a little like dangle it.
Yeah. I get that on paper it doesn't sound like fun, but
I do see if you hand somebody like, here's the porn star script and here's the dead husband script, like if we're gonna pick one.
Porn star, please. Yeah, but
fair enough. But they're both excellent.
It is truly like the thing that I am probably the most proud of writing. And then I recently shared it with one of the CineStory mentors, and he had some excellent feedback and some great notes. And now I'm like, oh man, I could make it even better. But so I might write that one as like, I'm thinking like maybe writing it as like a short story or a novel, like, because it feels like maybe that's a better audience for it. But that is a story that's very close to my heart that I want to find a way to kind of get out there somehow.
And honestly, what people are buying right now is IP. So you never know, like writing the novel might be the path to getting it up on screen anyway.
But circling back to the very beginning, I've never written fiction. When I've tried to write fiction, like, I'm like, I don't know what other words to put. Because like writing scripts is so lean. Like the goal is like economy of words, like almost like poetry, like the fewest words possible. And so the idea of writing, like what I've heard is that if you took a feature screenplay and put it into kind of like fiction format, it would be 35 pages long. And
okay.
That is terrifying to me. So yeah, so the problem is I've really never written like any, even again in undergrad, like I was like all in on the screenwriting. I didn't even really take the fiction classes. So the number of words is daunting.
Wow. I think in movies, but I write in novels. And so when my screenplays, like, it's always, for me, the writing isn't the hard part because I see it and I feel it. But the pulling it into the screenplay format and making it lean is like, I get the kill your darlings idea. So that's really funny to hear it because you've always been good at that part. You're coming from the other side. Nice. Okay, so it is time. What would you do? What would you give to my audience as a creator's challenge for something that they can do relatively easily to just start from zero and create something out of nothing?
Yes. So I am going to share one of the tips, one of the exercises that we used to do for that the TV writing class that I mentioned that I took in undergrad with a fantastic instructor named Fred Rubin. And so you can use this if you're just trying to come up with new ideas, or if you're kind of like stuck on a plot point, or, you know, you can use it at any stage in your process. But you just take a big stack of magazines. I know people might not have magazines anymore. If you have a Barnes and Noble or another bookstore nearby, you can go there, you can use catalogs. Somehow we got on some list and, we just keep getting magazines that we didn't subscribe to in our mailbox. And so I've been hoarding them for like 5 years. So I'm getting ready to do this process myself.
Yeah.
So you just take a script of like 10 or 12 magazines and you kind of like set an intention. If it's just like, I want to come up with a new idea for like a sitcom, you kind of like put that in your mind and you just like flip, like kind of like evenly flip, try not to like stay on any specific page. Try not to stop, but just kind of just keep flipping through and slowly, like the visuals will bring some thoughts to your mind. So have a piece of paper, you know, close by. I think handwriting is more effective than having your computer nearby, but you could have a computer nearby to take just for the note-taking process. But it is incredible that it really does just kind of like the visuals will kind of jog something in your mind that you're not expecting. So you might just kind of have a flash of a character or a situation or a setting or something like that you can kind of like jot down and, you know, then of course take some time to kind of build upon that. But just for an initial like ideation process, I found it to be really, really helpful.
I love it because you're using something that is external paired with what's going on in you already, but you're not trying to just like take the contents of the brain and shake them without adding something new. So there's kind of that alchemy when something new sparks with what you're already thinking about and wondering about. I really like that exercise a lot. That's cool.
Oh, good. No one's done that one before?
No. Nope. I've never heard of that before. I love it.
Cool. Well, shout out to Fred Rubin. Yeah, it is really helpful. And I literally, I'm suggesting it to the audience as much because I'm, you know, starting to work on a new idea myself. And so I'm assigning the creator's challenge to myself as well.
Yeah. Well, and I love it because I've kind of had the same 5 projects. Like they're different projects. But I've kind of had the same 5 projects bouncing around for a long time. And I almost think like a small side project, wherever it goes, or if it goes anywhere, just like starting something fresh will shake things loose on the other ones too.
Yeah.
And
I think that is true.
That helps me a lot. But when I just like sit down to think, that doesn't always, sometimes that works. But like for the initial idea, most of the time I'm just kind of inspired in a moment or I think of something. So it's nice when you feel like you want to make something and you're not sure what that looks like. I really like this as just try something with no stakes and get something started and see if you like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And even like you're like stuck in a plot point, you know that something has to happen, but you're not sure what, like something in this vein, somebody's got to get out of a trap that you've set or something like that. Like, it can also just kind of help to generate some ideas against like that external stimulation can help. So
yeah, I love it. Okay, so where can people find you and follow all the wonderful things that you're doing?
I should have looked this up ahead of time. My handle is Meggers. on like everything, but there are a different number of S's in different things.
Well, I'll link to it, and also if you follow me at I am Jessica Payne or at Kika Labs, I will also tag you and I follow you, so
Perfect.
track Megan down through that.
It's like I'm on Blue Sky. I'm not on the. I left the former site, but I love Blue Sky.
Yeah.
And we should keep it going over there on Blue Sky. So I'm on there, and then I'm also at Instagram, and yeah, I think it's 7 S's. It's between 5 and 7 S's. MEGGER, and then some number of S's.
I feel like you will show up at that point too.
It's just keep typing S's and you'll find me.
Yeah, perfect. Excellent. So Megan, thank you so much. I loved talking with you. Welcome to Creators Cafe, and thank you for the chat. Cheers.
Thank you. Thanks for all the kind words. Cheers.
Join the community and share your creative challenges on Instagram and Facebook at Creators Cafe by Kika Labs. And also check out my website, kikalabs.com, KIKALABS.com, to sign up for the mailing list so you always know when a new podcast is released, and to check out my coaching and digital courses to help you be a more confident and joyful creator.